Good evening. Welcome to the 5-8, where we discuss each of the week's 5 most fucked up topics for 8 minutes. 5 topics, 8 minutes, 2 hosts, a guest, some singing, a lot of curse words, and as many cocktails as we deem necessary. LB, how are you?
I'm good. I already have my cocktail.
Okay, this could be a good show, guys, just so we know.
I have my cocktail.
Already 3 sheets
no,
for
I'm
the wind.
Good.
It's
I'm
8:04.
really good. Yeah, I'm traveling. You notice the background is a little different. Where it's college tour weekend. This is our last one, I think. So I was able to stop by and borrow an office. So I'm borrowing someone's office for the show, and then I'm back on route.
Okay.
That's it. That's what's going on.
I think that's exciting.
How are you?
I am very good. I don't know if you know this, and probably not a single person watching this show cares, but the New York Knicks defeated the Philadelphia 76ers last night in a game that the NBA decided to start at 9:00 p.m. So I was up late, but it was worth staying up for because we won and we vanquished the Sixers. And what's great is that lots of people from New York City bought all the tickets on the secondary market. So there's a lot of New York fans in Philly, which really, really triggers the Philly people because there's lots of celebration in Philadelphia when the Knicks won. So I'm in a good mood. Basically,
I'm so happy for you. I mean, I know you've been giving me the updates and letting me know how your mood is. And it's been generally just very excited because your team is on a roll and they won. So they took it. That's it?
No, it keeps going for months. But, this is the first round. They're out of the first round. Now the season, no matter what happens now, the season is a success.
Okay.
We just want to play Boston. We want to beat Boston.
Okay.
We need one more round, and then we can go beat Boston. And then there will be celebration. There will be.
I mean, if I had magical superpowers, I would deliver tickets for you to one of these games. But I think I would need either $1 billion or magical superpowers in order for that to happen. And I have neither one of those things. I'm sorry. I'm a terrible friend. But just so you know, my wishes. Oh, I have some water. That's what I'm drinking.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad.
Delivered to me. Thank you so much. Okay.
So everything is good. I mean, in the land of sports, in the land of Greg and Olear's, everything is good. Again, with the college stuff, everything's been settled this week.
Yeah, you're settled. You got settled this week.
We're settled.
I think next week by next week we'll be settled. It's a big deal. I mean, it's huge to figure out what, where your kid is going to university. It's like a big thing.
Did you just pronounce it?
I'm going to get weepy, and that's not.
We don't need to get weepy. Now, in our little production meeting to prepare for the show, we decided that the theme is really dirty. Dirty is the theme because there's lots of just
filth,
slime
is my word. Yeah,
just dirty. And we thought of some alternative titles, which I'm just going to share real quick. There's 3.
Okay, let's see them.
You may recall. The first one is Filth, Hope, and Immunity. Like Faith, Hope, Filth, Hope, because Hope Hicks, right?
Yeah.
And then the other 2 kind of are about Trump smelling, Loose lips, sinks shits. That's one. That's a good one too if you want to, if you're trying to warm up, do a little warm-up exercise before you're going to give a speech or something or sing maybe. Aluminum, linoleum, aluminum, linoleum, like that kind of thing.
Yes, yeah.
Good. And the last one is, I think I'm reading this correctly, E pluribus anus. That seems weird to me.
I mean, that was the clear winner when it fell out in the middle of the production meeting, and we ended the meeting because there was nothing more to do after that. E pluribus anus.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Now we don't want to keep our guests waiting too long.
We don't want to keep our guests waiting too long. I do have to say, like in a little town, a little village, I have a little bit of a story too tonight.
Oh, good.
Surprise. Good. In the little town, little village that I have moved to, my mother this morning, like as we were getting ready to head off into, I think it was this morning. God, I don't know. I mean, it's so much going on. But she says to me, she's talking to me about the office manager at the podiatrist office has somehow discovered the 5-8. And she says, "Oh, your daughter, she's on that. What's the symbol again? Is it an 8 ball?" And she's like, clearly the word is out. I don't know if this is good news, but it is news. So the word is out in the Adirondacks.
Okay.
Welcome.
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 You know.
Welcome. And so then something like, I'm trying to remember the story correctly. It was again at 5 a.m. So I can barely remember. But then something about like my mom, trying to be very gracious as she always is. My mother's perfect. And she says, "Yes, it's a little unfiltered," or something like that. She picks a word that's like, because we're on YouTube. And she was like, "Yes." The office manager, "Yes, I think so. I think it's a little." And then she goes, "But that's what I like about it. Can you send me the link? Because I'm sending it to all my friends."
All right. Well,
so, maybe we're onto something. I know we're unregulated. I don't know. There's something about us being, I think it's maybe it was my David Pecker impression last week.
Oh, we're gonna see that and raise this week.
We're gonna raise it.
Yeah,
I used the word salty, and my mother's like, "It's a little more than salty, dear. It's a little more than salty." But I get this from her, so I have only her to blame.
Yeah. Did you get it?
I got the correction from the production meeting.
Okay.
E pluribus anum.
Is anum is that the plural?
I think that's the plural for anus.
I don't know. My Latin is a little rusty. I haven't spoken it since Rome fell in 1453. But whatever, it's okay.
Okay, we have a guest.
I know. We gotta go. Did you get it when I said I'll raise it? We'll raise it. Huh?
Yes, I did.
I didn't. I just figured it out now that I made.
Oh, okay.
So okay, let's go. Set the timer.
All right, here I am. I'm putting on the timer. Here we
go.
All
right, topic 1
on the clock.
Topic 1 is called fury. So what we were talking about is the sort of perception of Trump right now, and the perception of him right now. And I think there's a lot of joy on our side of seeing him wallow and suffer and snooze and fart and just make a ass of himself, a buffoon of himself.
Yeah.
But a lot of that goes on behind closed doors because it's at the trial.
Off camera. It's off camera.
So we can't see it. We can all imagine Donald Trump falling asleep. We can imagine what it smells like in there, but we don't actually experience it. So I feel like on some level, that narrative of him, it's almost a little bit too much. It's almost a little bit exaggerated. And
it's saw cartoonish.
And I think maybe intentionally so to some degree. Now we saw an interview with Trump on a Fox News affiliate in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
First of all, tell everybody about the interview and what did you see when you saw the interview?
I saw a man who was speaking in a very controlled voice, much like I'm speaking now. There was no emotion, but it was earnest. It was present. It had some gravitas to it. He was in command of what he was saying. And I saw a man who was not just stringing all of his thoughts together in a cogent and meaningful way, but weaving in there the spin that's required for reframing things like abortion. He said, this was about states' rights. And for 50 years, both parties were trying to accomplish this. And we accomplished it. He used we, not I. We accomplished it. So it's about states' rights and reframe the whole thing, being calm, using we, having obviously getting that they worked it out. They workshopped it. How can we phrase this? Because this is really going to hurt you. And he had it under control and under command and did it better, quite frankly, than most politicians we've seen. Yeah. When it comes to, okay, there's something that's going to bite you. You got to reframe it for your base. For also, I mean, his base, he can be crazy and they want that. They want the clown show, right? They want him to come out after the trial in the courthouse and start screaming about witch hunts and stuff. But this was for the people who are independents who aren't paying attention. I'm not saying independents aren't paying attention. I'm listing a couple categories. People who haven't quite decided, who get that there's problems, they think with Biden. They're hearing all the noise out there. They're seeing the protests, maybe kind of like, that looks nuts. They're like, it feels chaotic. And he came in and he's like, I'm going to speak right into the middle of this that's going on in the moment and be calm and be measured and have my talking points together and show up as like your good daddy. And it was fucking terrifying. You know what everybody keeps saying about how, oh my God, imagine when there's a Donald Trump that's not XYZ. We don't want someone that has his leanings, right? His instincts, his love of being a strong man, his authoritarianism, coming into this moment and actually being cogent and being able to conceal it. And guess what, guys? He showed up as that person we've all been fearing on that Fox News interview. So all I could think about was Vinny the Chin. I just went right there. Vinny the Chin. Because all I could think about was a gangster mafia boss that put on a bathrobe for 2 years and walked around drooling in his bathrobe out in public. So everyone thought he had lost his mind because he had a trial coming up. And he wanted to make sure that, and he kind of knew he's caught. He wanted to make sure that the jury and the media and everyone was presented with this drooling buffoon who couldn't possibly be running a vast criminal enterprise. And what he didn't know was the FBI had figured out a way to get a microphone underneath his dining room table where he was having everybody come over and he was running his meetings from his dining room. I can't remember what town he lived in, somewhere in New York City, boroughs area, probably Queens, and was, giving everyone instructions, and it was very cogent. And then he would put on his act and put on his bathrobe and march out. And Trump, knowing that there are no cameras in that courtroom and sitting there and making it look like he's asleep or whatever, maybe he really is. And maybe he just had some really good drugs in the moment of this Fox Wisconsin interview. Or maybe he's putting on a show because there aren't cameras there. And all he can say, and he brought it up in that interview as well, is like, it's just a fake trial. It's fake news and a fake trial. None of that is happening. As you can see, I'm completely cogent. I'm not snoring. I'm not on any of these horrible things. They just treat me terribly because they know I'm right. Because they, the grand they, are the bad guys and we're the good guys. We. Until he gets what he wants. And when he gets what he wants, when he gets his cookie, he's like a toddler doing everything he can, right? He's got all the dead animals in the corner or outside the house where mommy can't see it. Okay, I just killed the cat and I decapitated my kid sister, whatever the fuck he does. That's violent and horrible and psychopathic, right? That's all happened way over there. And he knows, oh, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble now. They can see what I do. They can see the carnage. So I'm going to be good little boy, good little Trump boy, toddler Trump. And I'm going to say what I need to say, how I need to say it, what I need, so I can get my cookie, because he wants something. He wants that presidency. He needs that presidency to get out of trouble. So he's going to be exactly how he needs to be to get his cookie. And then imagine the repressed rage of this motherfucker. Imagine what he's going to do when he gets his cookie and he has all that power again. Imagine what he's going to do, because imagine the seething rage underneath him that he has to perform like this, like a little monkey, right? And go against his nature in order to get the votes that he needs so that he can grab the power that he so desperately needs, or he's going to prison, right? And then he's just going to break everything. He's going to break it all. Because he's so angry that he's had to be so controlled. That's what I saw in that interview. I saw all of it.
Yeah. I think you're right. And True Player posted the link, and that is the correct link. It's the Weehawken, whatever, the Wisconsin
Okay.
local Fox News affiliate, an interview of Trump. You know, all that was missing from that interview is Van Jones saying, "Today is the day Donald Trump became president." Like, that's all that was missing. The
Yeah.
other thing is that he really did. He's clearly
Oh my
people working with
God.
him. There's been reporting about his campaign people that they're good and they know what they're doing, and you can see in that interview the sort of rough outlines of what they're going to be hitting Biden on.
Yeah.
It's being the challenger in a situation is in a lot of ways very easy because he could just blame Biden on everything and depend on his MAGA people to forget that 4 years ago we were hoarding toilet paper and he told
And
us to
saying
inject
goodbye to our grandparents
yeah, without having to go
and
being able to
parents.
actually go see them. So that's
Yeah.
it. It's not great, but I don't know.
Uh,
I don't know. It's just something we got to talk
we're
about.
going to try not to scare everybody with this hour this week. It's going to be hard because I have to say, there's a lot of idiocracy happening, and it's more dangerous and psychically violent than that film led us to believe it would be.
That film literally ends with them in a cage match for death.
I understand.
Right.
that
No, I'm
this is
supporting your
worse.
point. It's worse than
This is
that.
worse.
Okay? Yeah.
Yeah. So I know it's scary. We're going to try not to scare you. I'm sorry, but I think we have to talk about this and just give witness to the moment, and then hopefully find something positive.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know. Let's go to our next topic because
yeah. Speaking of positive, oh boy.
speaking of positive,
We have to talk about the protests, even though
Yeah.
I don't really want to talk about the protests because I talked about it a little bit in the intro to the podcast this morning, but there's so much going on with this stuff that the one thing that I think that I've been trying to do, and I said this again this morning, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating, but the one thing that I'm trying to do is divorce myself from getting emotional about things when I see things happening. Because as we know, you're the one that told me this when we did the Kavanaugh piece years ago. When you get into this emotional moments, when you get outraged so much, it overwhelms your ability to think clearly and objectively and all that. And this is Zarina, our friend Zarina Zabriskie, tweeted about this earlier today,
Yeah.
which is the Russians don't care what we're talking about. That whatever the protest is about, they don't give a shit. They just see division and they're going to try to fan the flames of the division. So now, having said that, this is complicated, and I think the reason why it's complicated is because there's lots of different things going on here. Okay. We can go through all of them and list all of the things that are true if we want, but I think we know. Obviously, this started with the attacks of Hamas on Israel in October that were so heinous and awful. I think everybody acknowledges that that's the starting point of this and how awful it was, and just horrifying in every way. And from there into Israel has a right to A, exist, and B, defend itself. I don't think there's anybody has a problem with that in a fundamental way. And then Netanyahu just fucked everything up because he's awful. And we said this from day one. We said this from
day
minute
one.
and it's way worse.
A minus, 700 or plus. We've been calling this guy out for years.
This is way worse than I ever thought. So
Oh.
all of these things are true. Now you go to the campuses, okay? There are definitely people on the campuses who are anti-Semitic and making Jewish students feel uncomfortable. That's absolutely happening. There is also the inverse where you have anti-Muslim sentiment and Muslims on campus feeling uncomfortable. It is true that there are outside agitators mixed in with the protesters. All of that is true. Having said all that, though, I think that most of the people doing the protests are students and professors who are appalled at what they're seeing in Gaza and are trying to do what's in their power to do to direct attention to it, because they don't want the United States to pay for it, and they don't want their university to invest in the country that's doing it or the government that's doing it until it stops. So that's the nature of the protests. And I think it's very easy for me and just people in general, and I'm talking about myself too. I'm trying to work this out in my own mind, even now as I'm talking. It's easy to jump on one side or the other side or this perspective and say, I'm right about this, whatever. But it's very, very complicated. But at the end of the day, if what Netanyahu was doing was tenable or in any way, there wouldn't be protests. When you have somebody like Jill Stein and Cordoba and RFK and these people that are just, it's just bullshit, that's different. There is something happening that they're protesting. The nature of the protest is real. So yes, there are people that are taking advantage of it. Yes, there are people that are weaponizing it, but it's also a real thing. And I think it does a disservice to the people doing the protest, the students. I think it's condescending for us to be like, well, you can't do that because it just makes Biden bad. That's not fair to them because they're trying to do what's right. And most of all, sending the fucking police the way that they've been doing at Columbia. I watched the videos of that thing before bed on Wednesday night, and it gave me nightmares. It was horrifying. On what planet is it acceptable for jackbooted cops and riot gear and God knows what fancy cop weapons they have to go into the building like they did, causing more damage than the students did, by the way? What do we think is going to happen? Yeah, okay, they're going to clear out the building. Guess what? One of the guns went off accidentally. Oh, wow. The optics of that are awful, awful, awful. The fact that it's students and professors doing this, and you're going to send the cops after them on campus, is just, I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. I just.
Okay. So we've talked about it, so it's not going to surprise you what I have to say. Do you want to say?
No,
more?
Once you call the cops in, you're also, there's a danger inherent with it. There is a danger
true.
when you call the cops in on people that are protesting. The cops are just like, we can tee off on these kids. They're all thinking that.
You don't have a Jewish kid at a school or university.
True.
So it's very different for those of us who have that, whether nieces and nephews or, my own child getting ready to go. So here's where, for me, it all breaks down. I'm all there for it. I'm all there for the whole thing. I really am, for the protests and everything. Here's where it breaks down to me. And the blame for me is on the leaders of the universities and colleges. So deans, presidents, whatever the names are, those folks, not the government, but the people who run those universities. When students show up, and hate speech, again, the school can have its own rules about hate speech on campus. It's one thing to have horrific hate speech that's just a sort of global hate speech happening. And by the way, right before Trump got in, this whole thing that started in about 2015, 2014, maybe even earlier, on the school campuses with the conservatives coming in there that were known white supremacists and coming in to have speech. And the kids were like, we need a safe space from this. This is horrible. And the university had to protect the very kids and in the same kind of mindset that are now doing these protests, right? And spewing hate speech, right? So I get that. Okay, we don't want this campus, but it is a campus. We're here for dialogue. We're here for hearing all points of view, even if you think they're vile. There's a difference between that and violent rhetoric aimed from one student or a body of students, a majority of students, or a crowd or a gathering, including professors, at other students, at Jewish students. To me, the heads of those colleges and universities, that is the moment where it's like, get the fuck out. You are expelled. You are fired. So that is a hard line for me. And I know that it breaks all the school's rules. Right. And it's like, so there's no excuse for that. That's the end. And you know what? I'm not listening to you anymore because you're telling my child that she should burn in an oven. So I'm not fucking listening to you any fucking more. You can't feel that if you're not in my shoes and in the shoes of these other parents and of these students. That's where I push back. I'm okay with the hate speech. Don't aim it at another student on that campus.
I'm not.
So that's it.
defending
So that's
that,
it. That's
obviously.
it. No, I don't. I'm sorry. I'm going to be just like they are. La 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 la. That's it. That's how they are. That's how I am with this. I really am. You cannot tell other students that they need to, you threaten them with vile death threats. Okay, so that being said, so that's it. That's on
Of course not.
The university, and you should say those professors, you show up for that shit and destruction of property, whatever. They have their rules about that. You're fired. And you know what happened at NYU when the head, I don't know if it was the president of the whatever, came out and said that? Guess what? Everybody went home because they showed up for violence.
We talked about that too. NYU doesn't have a real campus. NYU doesn't have a campus. I understand you have all your caveats. I'm telling you it works. And I'm going to thread this needle back around, right? Because this is actually what we should be doing with Bibi Netanyahu. You do this, we're out. It'll change like that. He'll stop his shit 2 seconds once he knows we don't. So I'm not for us. I don't want to pay for this. I don't want American resources, dollars, anything going for this bloodshed that he's committing. That's what the students. That's also what the students want.
I don't fuck, and I know students don't want that. But tell him do the same thing that should be done with these. They're becoming what they hate, which is their criticism of the FB. They think it's all all Jews because they're ignorant on a campus, that fucking ignorant to collapse the entire Jewish population with the government of Israel at this present moment. Whatever. They're going to be hateful. They're going to do that. They're going to be bigots. Fine. But to stop this government from what it's doing, they're doing the same thing. They're becoming what they actually hated. They're becoming what they feared. They're becoming what they stood up against. He's done it. Bibi's doing it. It's not good. I don't want to support that. I want to read this. This is from, real quick, Ahmed Fahud Al-Khatib, who's a proud American from Gaza City. He says on Twitter, or whatever this app is called. I don't know what the hell it's called now. Pro-Palestine, pro-peace, anti-Hamas, lost 31 family members in the war. Views are my own. Okay. I've never seen this man before, but I followed him from this tweet that showed up in this string that showed up in my feed. So he writes, I went to the UCLA campus last night and spent a few hours there before the police dispersed the encampment. I wanted to see the pro-Palestine student protests for myself and get a sense of the atmosphere, energy, and students, as well as the movement's focus and the desired endgame. I wore a t-shirt with a chant that I hope to use as an engagement opportunity with some students to see their views on various issues and how they perceive peace as an opportunity for the Palestinian people and cause. The chant is slightly modified from the ubiquitously repeated from the river to the sea. Here's what I saw. So first bullet point, right next to the parking lot and main entryway into the campus, a truck was parked with a speaker that loudly broadcast recordings from Richard Medhurst. Look it up if you don't know who that is. I was disappointed and disturbed to see a rotating anti-Semitic symbol on top of the truck with a combined swastika and Star of David. Swastika and Star of David rotating. I wished that the protest organizers had removed that particular symbol, which was entirely hateful and vile. Many statements, words, and messages were plastered all over the truck, which had a Palestinian flag. Upon proceeding onto, this is bullet point 2, upon proceeding onto campus, something like 70% of protesters had masked balaklavas and kufiyas, I think I can't pronounce these words, I apologize, covering their faces. something that we see across college protests as students fear backlash, doxing, and retaliation for their participation. To me, as an outsider, this made the overall atmosphere immensely tense, not seeing people's faces and feeling that people could do whatever they wanted while benefiting from anonymity. The environment, and someone brought up, and a lot of people bring up, like, what happened to cultural appropriation? I thought you weren't into that. Now we're doing this? The environment was not conducive to dialogue, talking, discussions, debates, or anything of the sort. The message was clear. Everyone who attended needed to be on board with the dictated message and slogans or get out. Now, that's the way protests are. Like, this is it. If you're a union, you're out there on the strike, like get on board with our message, or whatever. But we're talking about a campus university. We're supposed to have dialogue.
We're also talking about an outsider who went to the protest and didn't know anybody.
He was
a significant percentage of the protesters on these college campuses, especially in New York, are Jewish students. That's just a thing that happened. On Blue Sky, it's all that.
Yes, that's true too, Greg. Yes. I'm not, again.
I just want to make sure, I want to make sure that I'm not defending what you just said about, and no one wants that. That's obviously.
Well, here's my point. Here's my point. I won't read the rest of this. You guys can all find it. Here's my point. I want to keep listening. I'd love to follow along, but you are saying that my child should burn in an oven. So how do I reconcile that? And you're saying that when the protest it's not about something other than people who have no right are coming in because they have the might in the moment and they have the platform to do so. And the resources to do so, and annihilating other people's children. Do you understand?
Yeah, nobody wants anyone's children to be annihilated.
They're actually.
I'm anti-child annihilation. I just want to get that on the record.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think we could all agree on that.
Yeah. So I'm sorry.
My guess is that the Venn diagram of people expressing that sentiment and the Venn diagram is very, very closely a circle with people that are not students on the campus.
I actually, you're wrong on this. And let's
at Columbia. I can't speak for UCLA.
So UCLA.
I don't know what goes on in California.
I follow closely. You follow Columbia closely. So I think you're giving a lot more grace than is earned. And that is so unfortunate. That is the worst part. That's the worst part.
What?
That a student movement, which is in a position in a moment of time to create real change, is instead shooting itself in the face.
Okay. Yeah. I think we're out of time. Are we out of time on this topic?
I thought I set this timer, but we are out of time because it's gone late. I want to hear what our guest has to say about all this. I thought I set the timer. I'm sorry.
Me too.
I had a dirty martini. I don't know what to say. I apologize profusely to our guest. No, I never hit start.
That's okay.
I'm so sorry.
You know what we have to do now? You know what we need?
We need a little song.
We need a palate cleanser. And I'm just going to say, everyone watching, this is God bless Chunk. Okay.
God bless you.
This gets a little, what's the word that you said that your mother said? A little
salty. I said salty. She said it's a little more than that.
It's a little more. This is a little
I
more
can't
than
remember the word now.
Viewer discretion advised. Okay. So I'm going to say, if you're easily offended, just, go to the bathroom for a minute and a half.
Everybody's head, back in the wood, back in the wood, you gotta back. Second the word, 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 I gotta back. Second the word, you gotta back. Still that about the back. Oh, everybody said that the second the word, I wanna back. Second the word, you gotta. Everybody said, second the word, back. Second the word, you gotta 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 back. Now about the word, everybody said that the second the word, I wanna back. Second the word, you gotta.
Someone in the chat was like, "What is happening?"
I don't know what's happening. How, what other show goes from like an intense discussion about the protests to this? Only ours. Only here on the 5-8 we have such transitional moments.
Yeah.
Okay, we've kept our guest waiting long enough.
So long. I'm so sorry.
I know. She is a law professor who is now she'll talk about that. She's the author of a book called Big Dirty Money, which is behind me, and excellent if you haven't read it. And she has a Substack called Money and Gossip, inspired by our favorite show, Succession. Jen Taub, welcome back to the 5-8. How are you?
I'm good in spite of all the chaos and anti-Semitism and brutal cop crackdowns on speech and wars and all of that.
Yeah, and the farting in the courtroom. You're good. You're good despite the.
I'm actually enjoying very much enjoying the tweets that are coming out about the Trump criminal trial. So that's been fun.
You've been your Instagram page since the attacks of October, by the way, I just want to say personally, you've done such a great job like curating content and people's points of view and stuff like that. And it's really been a go-to for me, and I've learned a lot from what you've shared there. So I want to just thank you for that, because I forgot to bring that up before, but
I forgot that I had an Instagram, because I always I do Facebook, and I guess I post in both places, and I do threads. But yeah, thank you. I'm only saying that, Greg, because I'm not responding to people's comments on Instagram. I don't do
the comments.
That's not what happens on Instagram, right? There, people don't comment. It's just pictures. I don't really fully know how that works.
I don't know. I just resurrected my Instagram to try to get the show to broadcast on Instagram, and then it didn't work. So now I'm on Instagram again. Right. So that's good. So before we get into the nitty gritty, tell us what have you been up to? How's your year going? Apart from the horrors,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of personal stuff happening, leading me to a very exciting career change. Not career change, but I mean, I'm changing law schools. Right now, I live in Western Massachusetts, as you probably know, and I am moving back home to Michigan, to Detroit, where my favorite doomed team, the Lions, play, and I'm going to be on the faculty of Wayne State University School of Law. I'm super excited.
Congratulations. I wish we had like confetti that we could throw across the screen right now.
We do not.
How wonderful.
Yeah, I'm so happy. It's such a great group. They're hiring, I think, like 5 or 6 professors. They're doing really well in terms of their rankings, to the extent people care about that. And the students are doing extremely well, passing the bar and landing wonderful jobs. And of course, not just coming home, but coming home to a swing state. Well, I will be a voter in November.
Oh, that's good.
Very, very good. Michigan seems like a dream to me now. So
I know that song.
Were you waiting for the Lions to be good before you moved back? Because it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's been.
I'm a fair weather fan, Greg. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. They have not been good
Well,
since 1958, so it's been a long time.
maybe once you move back, it'll solidify something in you, and you'll be more solid, consistent there for the wins and the losses.
Yes.
And the
I mean,
losses.
I'm so old, or I haven't lived in Michigan so long that when I lived there, they still played in that Pontiac Silverdome. And I actually saw a concert. I saw Elton John's Louder Than a Concord concert
Oh,
at the Pontiac
wow.
Silverdome when I was a tiny child.
Wow.
Yeah.
Before they
Cool.
blew up the Silver Dome.
Yes.
Elton John is very good in concert, by the way.
Yeah.
Did you
it
like
was
him?
amazing.
Yeah.
I was really young, and I think it was the second concert. One of my parents, my father took my brother and I to. The first one we saw was at this place called Pine Knob, which is an indoor sort of outdoor shed kind of theater, and we saw David Cassidy, which is also I'm having all this nostalgia about
Oh my.
Michigan
Nice.
memories, So sorry if I just continue on this.
No,
Yeah.
it's we're fine with we like nostalgia. We like good memories. We like happiness.
Yeah,
That's what we like.
yeah.
So okay, so you were down. We can see you, watching what we were talking about before. So
Yeah.
do you have you're on a college campus. Do you have any thoughts about anything we've said in the first two topics?
I think, and I've been, asked about this a lot. I think that all these incredibly volatile flashpoints are coming together. Like, I'm going to abstract this instead of talking about as a Jewish person, a Jewish parent who has a
Right,
kid.
good.
Right. But
I did that for us. You don't
yeah,
have to
I
repeat.
think that the one thing I think that most people who, the vast majority of people who care about this topic understand or should understand in their heart that the problem we have is violent extremism. And that is true both in the Middle East and that's also true in America, right? And extremism, when it meets violence, and whether that's political or religious-based violence, is a recipe for obviously disaster and for long multi-generational epigenetic trauma and for ongoing war. So there's that. I think there's other pieces. I like what LB said. There's sometimes yes and to a lot of this, right? And it's a sort of like where I'm nodding and agreeing with both, Stephanie and Greg on this, is that you can have all these things be true all at once. For example, it can be true that people feel really sincerely about an issue and they want to protest on campus to draw attention to it and put pressure on a school, and yay. It's also true, let's not rewrite history, that even in the anti-apartheid movements, the kids who didn't just protest, but that, like, including friends of mine who actually occupied a building and refused to leave, did get arrested, suspended, and thrown out, okay? So those things happened, and so those things can both be true. We can say civil disobedience is good, but you've got to recognize what the consequence is. What's unique, I think, in this era is as follows. The vast majority in some of these big city campuses, right, whether it's especially the New York and Columbia, NYU and Columbia, where people can just kind of come in and out, and there's, like you said, NYU, not much of a campus, even if Columbia has. We're seeing in some schools where most of the clashes occur, the violence being created by outsiders, number one. Number two, though, the rhetoric that's hateful in an era where we have been so careful to, rightfully so, condemn microaggressions, when we have embraced, which I still embrace, DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. It's like, yeah, but not for Jews. Like,
Yeah.
you want to, in other words, there are certain things that people should understand mean a particular thing to the vast majority of Jews. And I'm not saying ban speech. Just
No.
talk about it. Like, in other words, there are, and then I think this other thing, this is really
Yes.
true. There's other
Of
thing
course.
but here's what's also true. We are now seeing in this lawsuit allegations, Greenberg Traurig, which is a very respected firm, and some others have joined together on behalf of, I'm sure you saw this, Jewish students and Jewish American students and Israeli students in the U.S., bringing lawsuits, and they are alleging that some of these organizations like SJP, Students for Justice in Palestine, are violating the law, and that they are a lot of their funding and their planned activities are coordinated by Hamas. And I know that I don't want to get into this thing of calling students in the US terrorists, but I am a flippin' follow the money person. And I am drawn to stories where this happens. And so again, all this can be true. But what this alleges, and it also makes a lot of sense to me, the day after the horrific Hamas attack, which, by the way, some people deny happened.
I understand.
But the day after the brutal rape, kidnapping, we still have hostages, this thing that was going to instigate an attack back, there was no way it wasn't in a war, which has gone on too long. But that was a flashpoint. We find out that the day after, these organizations like, the one I was just telling you, the name of the acronym, there's so many, but students at SJP already knew the plan, what to do next. They already had a plan. Well, where did that plan come from? So I'm not one of these crazy people who says whenever students have tents that look the same, that someone all bought them together. They probably bought them on REI or Amazon. Like, I think there's a way people can be nutso. But there's no question in my mind that these are very credible allegations. So that's one different thing. That's different. The other different thing, I think, in these protests now as compared to the anti-Vietnam War protests or the apartheid protests is it's not like students against the university. It's students versus students.
That's right.
And that becomes really painful, right? It's a different thing. And then I'm going to go back to, the one job I would never want to have right now is university president.
It's
but
thankless.
But if I were a university president, I would handle things very differently. Even if I knew or thought I knew that I was up against organizations that were funded and had people who were there in bad faith from the outside. There's a way to handle this. And some presidents have done a better job than others. Right. And every school is different. I don't have to be like Tolstoyan, every calm campus is the same, but every disrupted campus is disrupted in its own way. But that is true. And, I think Wesleyan did a good job for its school. I think, Chicago's doing a good job for its campus and all the hundreds of campuses where we're not having television cameras on them, So those are the things I'm going to add to this discussion. But what I also want to say is that when Trump gets elected again in November, everyone's going to be pointing fingers at each other. And the only way to prevent that is if we can actually come together. And by the way, some of the youth vote, some people were never going to vote for Biden. The Jill Stein voters, I want to burn down capitalism. Good for you. Free speech in America. But they were not. Vote for who you want. Right. I'm more concerned with people who really feel, who really see this and are beginning to feel this struggle. They really want Palestinian liberation. Maybe they even believe Israel has the right to exist. Probably not, because they've been brainwashed, but whatever. They want to end the war, that really are good-hearted people who believe it's worth not voting for Biden because because they don't care about their own rights, let it all, everything needs to burn down or whatever.
Well, good luck to them.
No, but we're all on the same.
Good luck to you and your free speech.
No, but the problem is we all suffer. And I also think adults our age and a little older are so fucking irresponsible. There was a great piece in The Atlantic by Charlie Sykes, of all people. All my friends who are like, oh yeah, look, this happened in Vietnam. Look, I'm like, yeah, you know what happened in 1968? The Vietnam War didn't end. Guess who became president? Nixon.
Satan. Oh, Nixon.
Okay?
Sorry.
Right, sorry. So people, everyone's playing into the flipping stereotypes. And what doesn't also help, and I don't want to pile on, so I won't mention her name, but that graduate student who was representing the students who took over Hamilton Hall and was talking about, the meal plan and this shit. And students, cosplaying like they are, gonna starve? Who had taken over a building? I mean, you saw that. It almost seemed like a Saturday Night Live sketch. So what I would say is,
I can't wait for the Saturday Night Live sketch. Have we had it yet?
What I feel awful about is, but we shouldn't. But the problem is, there are a lot of sincere people participating in this, and if we polarize or dehumanize ourselves, that's a problem. And propaganda is real.
Yeah.
People cannot
Say
people
it every
pick
day.
sides.
It's
Oh,
very
sorry. You asked me what I
powerful.
thought, but that's my bottom line. Is I think if we all say violent extremism is bad, whether it's in the name of politics or religion, that we're all on this planet together, and that there's 7 million Israelis and 7 million Palestinians. Nobody is leaving. Everyone's staying. We've got to figure that out. And and everyone who thinks the other group is going to go away needs to think about changing that idea. And that's what the governments, it'd be nice. And by the way, it'd be nice if we had the Arab world and that region supporting this. But of course, the Arab world also has its own battles, Sunni and Shia and all this stuff, right? Just like we have Republican, Democrat. Everybody's always fighting because, Freud was right. Eros and Thanatos. We are not all peace-loving people. Even peace-loving people, we have the ability to. Anyway, I'm gonna stop getting philosophical. I haven't even had a fucking martini.
Where is your drink? This is the problem.
Okay, I'm stopping.
Can we DoorDash you a drink? I don't know.
Oh my God, I can't believe I went on and on. Okay, I'm gonna shut up. Sorry.
No,
guys.
I want to. Listen,
no, please. Yeah.
Here's the thing. It's an extraordinary moment, and so there's having our age. Right. And the history we have behind us and the stuff that we learned from our folks and we watched them engage in, and having all of that rolling into this present moment and watching these kids who have none of that try to tackle this, and then seeing how we're responding to that, that the universe, I'm sorry, I know it's the most thankless job, but the university president, if they after all these years of history, after all the kinds of stuff we've had in our past, if they don't have a battle plan or a real plan or a response plan in place, get rid of them.
Can I just I just want to say something because I just thought of it. Separate from what you said about the presidents of the university. We're all Gen X here, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So some of the Gen X people I know obviously live in a much more privileged world than I do, because their only memories of being children or hearing about Vietnam War protests, and even people today are like, what the fuck? They think everybody was protesting the war. Don't they know some of our parents actually had to be in the military? Like, my father was stationed at Long Beach in the Navy. He didn't get sent over, thank God. He was a doctor, but he was in and by the way, he hated the whole situation. He played anti-war records, but he didn't really have much of a choice, and the situation was that he what was it? When he go off the base, when you go off the base, you're still in your uniform. Kids who were either young or draft dodgers or conscientious objectors would yell and spit at him. And he was a Kennedy voter, and that was when he and my mom became Republicans and never turned back. Now, I'm hoping, unfortunately,
that happened to a lot of people.
And my father is no longer with us. My mother is, and I'm going to keep, when I move in with her, I'm going to try to get her back on the Democratic side. She's not a Trump voter, though, so that's good. But I just want to point out that the story, these students are being told by people around them, oh, why are these universities being like this? There were the protests in Columbia in 1968 when they took over the building. See, woo-woo, yay, yay. And I'm like, okay, that was people of Columbia. The rest of the country, we lost young men in this war. We didn't necessarily want the war, and they were still stuck there, and it was terrible. But breaking into Columbia did not end the fucking war in 1968. It doesn't end till 75. So maybe we need to rethink what we can do to put pressure on people to end the war, because what it did is it became, political fodder for getting Nixon in office and laid the groundwork for fucking Ronald Reagan. So I don't know.
I
don't know.
There's a reason that there is a lot of material on nonviolent resistance and all the elements of that and how effective it is and how it can work. And so I wish everybody the best. I hope we can get back into that space. I really
think we have to model it.
I do believe in protest, and I do believe in change. That change can happen from a collective raising their voice and bringing and illuminating an issue, a crisis, and having a clear ask for change and having the action of the protest match the request for change and highlight what is needed. And I think that's getting really lost right now. So maybe folks can figure out. That would be great.
And what do you think about people disrupting graduation ceremonies? I don't mean by standing up and turning your back. I mean by shouting and running through and carrying flags of any type. Are you for that?
No. Then we should send the police riot squad in. No,
No!
I don't like that shit.
Don't
I'm
send
just
the
kidding.
police in.
But I don't
Jesus.
I don't like when people are not considerate.
Yes.
Like that's somebody's moment. You're not. That's just. I don't
No,
like.
but the argument is, well, why have a moment when there are people starving? I got news for you.
Oh,
Jesus
fuck
said,
that. That's stupid.
Jesus said, and I'm not even a Christian. Jesus said, the poor will always be with us. We still have to like do our thing. And the answer to this is, these kids work. They should go to their graduation commencement ceremony. That is not the place to disrupt. Stand up. You could, if you turned around and you had a T-shirt on your back and it said, "Free Palestine, liberate Palestine," I'm 100% for that.
Write it on the mortarboard.
Right. I just don't, and stand with a flag in your space. It's running through and making noise that bothers me because
one action, again, I'll say it again.
right.
One action elevates the cause.
Yes.
The other action disintegrates it. So what are you for burning down even the thing that you're passionate about and that you want change and you see a real need for? Are you about ending that?
You know what? Yep.
So there it is. You've got.
It's like throwing soup at a painting.
I was just going to say that.
How about that?
I think those people are tools of the oil industry, of the fossil fuel. There is not a single human being alive that would see that and be like, whatever they're for, I'm going to join the movement. That's
one of my friends who I'm also getting in arguments about the protests on campus. She actually, I remember on Facebook, she was saying, everyone's criticizing young people for doing this. That was when they were putting the paint on it was plexiglass. So criticizing for doing this, but no one's doing anything about climate change. So this is, what else are they going to do but resort to this? I'm thinking that doesn't actually track because this will actually reverse the efforts people are making.
Yeah.
It just pisses people off, and not in a way that's useful.
Right.
Change needs to happen. They're not wrong. They're not wrong in going, oh my God, this is a moment where we stand up. There's real righteousness in that. This is the moment where we stand up and we raise our voices and we give voice to those that are suffering so terribly.
Right.
Yes. And understand that in raising your voice, there's a responsibility to be heard.
That makes sense to me.
So focus on how you're going to be heard. This is all I'm saying. Okay, we got to move on.
I had all these questions, and now we don't even have any.
We don't have time, but we can have our subject.
I can come back.
Be about Jen Taub, and
we would love for you to.
Why don't I just come back and we'll cover the other stuff when we have more perspective or more time.
I love that. Let's see if we can.
One quick thing. Wait, before we move on, one quick thing about because just thinking about it, about the Vietnam and comparisons to '68. One of the things I think that's really fascinating about the Vietnam War, now me as a Gen X person who was a baby when it ended, right, is that for multiple presidents, Republican and Democrat both, in lockstep, all wanted that war to happen, and they were all for it. Like there was no difference in the policy of of Washington, no matter if it was Kennedy there or Nixon or whatever. It was the same policy, and it's never totally made sense. And I think there's some sort of generational thing that happened in '68 where the older generation thought differently about the world than the younger one.
On the bus versus off the bus is what they say, right?
Yeah. And I don't know that that's the case now necessarily.
What do you mean?
I don't think it's a generational divide in this particular issue. I don't think this is I don't think it's similar in that way. I think this is very different than the Vietnam War.
Well, because this is also based on so much of, some of the ideology around power dynamics that stems both from Edward Said and some Marxian thought, right? There's some pieces of everything that are really interesting to think about. but then it's when you try to take something and put everything into a cookie cutter mold, this whole like, okay, settler colonialism, bad. If we see a conflict, someone must be any conflict. There must be the good guy and the bad guy, and it's not that simple, right? And I think that's the problem. The idea that you can say Jews and Palestinians have historical claims to particular areas, including, or what about, the Arab world imperialism? It's not that simple. And then different countries, fighting within communities. Anyway, I just think, I don't know why I just went off on that tangent, but I think that has something to do with the Vietnam War was very much communist bad, capitalist good. We can't let, more communism, it was like that
Very
polarity, which was so
simple. Yeah.
That and so everyone was, and then there were people who said that resisted that stupid binary. But now we're in this world where we're all divided in the U.S. because of those very complicated power dynamics and this idea that, we have to say, white is bad, black is good, because of the history, which America has a terrible history of racism, continuing discrimination, but then to put that on to the Middle East and say, well, I guess anyone who's a Jewish Israeli, we're going to call them white, and then we're going to call them bad or something, and therefore it's okay if they die because this is a righteous uprising, militant uprising, and then we're going to call that the Intifada, and we should spread that worldwide. When that happened after October 7th, I freaked the fuck out, because that means if I think I'm a huge critic of Netanyahu, I've always wanted a two-state solution, but I'm willing to say I call myself a Zionist because I think Israel has the right to exist. Does that mean I get to be killed? That's what I was hearing from even Jewish kids who are very, that I know, people I know who are in their 20s, who are part of the, what is a Jewish group called? Whatever. There's a group of Jews who are saying they support, well, let me say it differently. Not Palestinian statehood, but they support the complete annihilation of Israel, and just think,
from the river to the sea.
Yeah, exactly. And who actually, I know plenty of them who support Hamas. And that is what bothers me so much, is people saying, well, that's not happening. And I'm like, it's fucking happening. So like, I live in a very lefty town. Trust me.
It's happening. Yeah, it's happening.
I hear it.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, what really also bothers me is there are a lot of white people who are not Jewish who are using this opportunity to deal with their white privilege and guilt by getting mad at white people. It's kind of like the version of, remember, like all white women are Karen, and it allowed misogynists to also take everything out whenever a woman is actually trying to show any kind of authority, as opposed to entitlement. I think that's moved on, where we can just decide any Jews complaining, like the mocking of us. The mocking of us saying, oh, anytime you criticize Israel, that's anti-Semitism. No one ever said that.
Yeah.
That's like saying anytime you criticize a black person, you're a racist. If you said that, that would be racist, and it is. And the idea that people to mock the position of Jewish Americans, to say that our view is Israel is beyond criticism, how dare you? I mean, the level of anti-Semitism in this country right now, I am so glad. Well, let me just say this. I'm sure Stephanie knows this. There is so much no one is talking about. There are chat groups among Jewish women in this country on the left who are saying, holy shit. Is, I mean, look, you have no idea. And we are scared.
Just to be clear, I'm not just, I'm married to a Jewish man. And
right.
So
same thing though.
So it's
no, but that's part of it.
No, but yeah, it's like, this is my family. And oh boy. But here's what's intriguing is, because I'm not, I hear this stuff, people think it's okay to say stuff to me.
Oh, me too. People don't know I'm Jewish.
They don't know. And so then it's really horrifying.
Well, I used to ignore it. I used to ignore it because it was embarrassing for me. Like, people begin a sentence saying they say something and they go, oh, you're not Jewish, are you? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, it's okay. It's okay to say that. Like when my friend from college, the mother said, oh, these Jewish people are so dirty. And I just looked at her and she goes, oh, you're not Jewish. And I said, I am. But then I had to make it all better because I'm staying with my friend at their house and I don't
Right.
want him to feel bad about his mom.
Oh, God.
I was visiting another university as a faculty member, and one of the professors started to lay in on, Jewish Israelis. And I had to say, it's okay. I'm tired. So now the big thing is I'm not doing that anymore.
Oh,
I'm
good
not
for
doing
you.
it.
Good. Yeah.
Well, it's making people uncomfortable, but yeah.
But that's okay. Let them be
I
uncomfortable.
wore my Jewish star out in
They've
public
been
the other day.
making you uncomfortable. So, like,
Well,
there you go.
I wore my Jewish star around my collegey town. And only one person said, "Oh, that's so nice." Everyone else was like, "Look, I can't even do it because it feels like I'm trying to make a point." So I just keep.
Yeah.
it.
Now it's like some
Sorry,
kind of
Greg, we're
It's,
still on
it's
this
okay.
topic.
It's okay. It's some
No,
kind of
this is more important than I don't want to. We don't
armor.
need to talk
It's
about
like it's
Hicks. Who cares?
it's like showing your faith. It's like I saw you. I think you even wrote about that.
Yeah.
Of like the
I worked at
decision
school.
process,
One of my
just whether or not where you're going to wear your star. It's like, oh my God, am I this? Is it this? And I will they come at me? But
I didn't say that though. I just said I was afraid to wear it. And one of my
afraid to
colleagues
wear it,
said,
but I mean,
she was upset. She said,
yeah.
"Are you think I'm so sorry you don't think we're a welcoming place?" And I said, "This isn't about you.
Yeah.
It's not about what you feel. It's about how I feel."
Yeah.
And I wasn't talking about you particularly. But yeah.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I was going to go back to what you were saying about, the words about like occupier and colonizer and these kind of words. That's really reductive in the way that it kind of dumbs everything down and it's somebody on a college campus in the United States of America on Indian land, yowling about that
Native land.
is insane. So,
well, the tribes call themselves. I worked on an Indian tribe when I was in law school, and they say Indian, but yes, native land. It depends on who you are.
First Nations. It just depends on where you are. Yeah.
No, but it's true. Now there's all this performative in a lot of colleges around here. You make this statement about we are on the land of such and such peoples, right? And that's you make this statement, but you don't like give the land back. I mean, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, right. And you can't and how you go. If you read the history of
Hills,
Europe, that's all that happened is people were
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could just go. But what's really important is having these conversations. I have friends who don't see it the same way I do, and we're having these conversations, and we're actually something up our sleeve to have a public conversation because if we can talk about this together, people can maybe hear how we don't have to agree. But can we keep talking? I mean, that's what the point, I think.
Right. That's the other thing about, and the place where we're supposed to be in America, where we're supposed to be able to have discussion no matter what, and exploration and even clashing of ideas is the primary place is not Washington, although that's the job there, but at university, at college. That's the point of going there. And that's the core of that secondary education. So it's just gobsmacking. Again, there's the difference between we're showing up to do this. You're either on board or please get away because this is the moment where we're doing this. That's a protest. That's I was on the picket line. That's like, that's fine. And then there's, if you show up and you have discussion about our point of view, when this is all a campus for expressing points of view, you should feel in fear for your personal physical safety. That's a whole other ball of wax.
Well, there's a new philosophy at some campuses that the administration should be neutral or whatever, as opposed to taking a point of view because there's so many debates. That's one thing. But there's another thing about what, organizing truly educational conversations among credible experts or credible individuals, and allowing that to go forward. There's a lot I could say, but some of the stuff I just don't.
Please don't. You have your great new job. Yeah, I don't want.
But no, it doesn't. It's just more like respect. I tend to be circumspect until time is passed or whatever. But there's a lot of different ways to actually encourage dialogue and there are ways to shut people out.
And the
And-
toolbox for where to learn and where the experts are supposed to be for encouraging dialogue are at colleges and universities. I get to keep coming back to this. It's a big sticking point for me. It's another sort of line in the sand of like, this is where we are paying incredible amounts of money to send our children so that they can have the toolbox for having discussion and dialogue. That's the whole fucking point. That's how you learn there.
Right.
And for that to be the thing that's hijacked to shut it down is actually an existential threat to the colleges and universities themselves. And so therefore, again, the leadership there should be protecting that. Student lives, protect them, right? Even against student to student violent hate speech, make it stop. Expel the fucking, this isn't hard. Again, I don't think this is a handbook that is in the ethers and we don't know oh my God, this isn't a new moment. It's not.
I don't know if I would go as far as expelling. See, this is where you and I differ.
Yeah, I don't like the expelling either.
I like
some kind of consequence.
Well, I actually like
Expulsion.
I like what is the word, restorative justice ideas, like bringing people together and without.
But the protesters
without
aren't
a crowd.
allowing that. This is not. They won't.
Well,
really, you need
it
to
could
hear the
have happened.
testimonies of the folks that have been there. Of like, there was no doing that.
Well, there's different things between. So there's but there's also letting I just can't. I think for breaking the law, for not dispersing, fine, but for the problem is there's inconsistent codes about what hate speech is, and these are private schools are different than public schools, right? There's different limitations on things, but I believe if you're going to have the problem with these schools is if you have time, place, and manner restrictions, which are always going to be both constitutional for a public university as well as legitimate for a private school, you can't enforce them in an arbitrary basis.
No. And
so
you can't let things get so out of control that you've got to call in the police with the thugs and the things and the.
Well, you didn't have to call in the police, but anyway.
Thank God.
No.
When the police, when you see a woman, a professor in her 60s at Dartmouth College being thrown to the ground, again, our problem is violent extremism. Flashpoint, police are over militarized. Flashpoint, angry infiltrators, kids breaking into buildings. Every single person, and I don't like if you had the sound off, and you can't speak any language. Look at all the people who are doing the bad, violent things. They're every group, every ideology. And let's keep in mind, for people who want to completely defund the police as opposed to downsize it, they really wanted police to come arrest those terrible people who were, coming in and bashing the pro-Palestinian students. They were coming in from LA and they claimed they were Zionists and et cetera. Maybe they were, but very dangerous people. Like, they needed to be arrested and they weren't because the police stood back. So again, we have a problem about inconsistent, arbitrary enforcement of rules, violence, excessive, force when it shouldn't be used across the board, whether it's state sanctioned violence, police, or I think what Netanyahu is doing, or non-state, terrorism, whether it's the people like Hamas or domestic terrorists here. I think we could get along better if we sliced it that way, because if everyone starts to get very much, I'm a victim and we have to, only choice is violence against the other side, we just blow each other up. Can't we grow up and evolve as humans?
Well, the place to experiment with that
is a university.
Campus, university. Coming back to that. But yeah, thank you. Okay, I think this has been.
I think that the place to experiment is the place to experiment is obviously the Republican National Convention. I think. That's
oh my God!
Where the experiment.
Where's it going to be this year?
Wisconsin.
Oh, for Christ's sake. Swing state, right? Where's the Democratic convention going to be this year? I forgot.
I don't know.
Tell me it's not Chicago.
I can't remember.
Either.
I don't know.
We could.
I don't
Google it.
know. Someone
I
will
don't
tell us
Someone will tell us
in our chats.
Yeah.
Someone will
We're
tell us
so
in the
smart
chat.
over there.
We went way long,
Knows more than we do, for sure.
What's funny is we were kind of wishy-washy on the last two topics anyway, so this
It sort of took over.
yeah, it
We
took
want
over.
to keep
It was
you
good.
You know
on.
what?
I think we can
Let
do
the record reflect that I did ask about how are we going to stay on time, and everyone assured me that they were going to keep track.
How
of
about
the
we
time.
reduce it to 3 minutes?
It is Chicago.
It's Chicago.
I thought it was
Holy
Chicago.
cow.
Yep.
All right, we're going to reduce it to 3 minutes, these next two sections, and we're just going to steam clean our way through them. As like we're Hope Hicks with an iron, a steamer staring at, which is actually our next topic. I just want to hear the highlights on this. Stick with us, Jen, will you? All right. Let's move on to this one. Greg, what happened with Hope Hicks today? Do you have highlights?
She came and she testified, and this whole thing to me is just like
she cried. She came and she cried.
Oh my God. I wrote about it's like a bad sitcom reunion. Like it's all these people from years ago that I've forgotten about. Oh, look, it's Jennifer Aniston. I haven't seen her in a while. You know, it's like that kind of thing. Oh, Hope Hicks. Wow, she hasn't been in any. That's where we're at now. And I feel like I don't need to pay attention to the granular. Just alert me when he's convicted is my position. But Jen, I did want to ask. I saw a thing about Michael Cohen recording him. He recorded some conversation, and there was some scuttlebutt about maybe he shouldn't have done. Do you know anything? Do you know what I'm talking about? Or no, is this just a thing that hasn't happened yet?
My understanding is it wasn't, well, I didn't hear the part about whether he should or shouldn't have recorded. He was constantly recording conversations, but I think there was some question about like the metadata on the call, like, because when they have these experts talking about taking the call off, and would the call happen at this time, or did it happen at that time, and was there some parts missing, and had he tampered with it? But the expert said, no one had tampered with the call. That's what I remember of the recording. So
okay, good, because they were trying to make it seem like it was this big deal, and I thought it was a good thing. I was going to tweet, "Lordy, there are tapes,s," because remember. We all
remember James Cohen.
That was on the sitcom episode from 7 years ago that these people are now reliving, and I feel like Chunks Media really covered the trial.
I do too. I think we only just need that da ba 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 ba. I think we only need that song, and that's it.
What is the word?
Pecker is the word. Word.
So okay,
so I think she cried or whatever. Somebody, I wish I could. Jennifer Rubin. If anybody wants to go and check out, she did a thread on it was Weissman.
Andrew Weissman had the two most important things about this. Yes, it was.
There we go. Okay, do you remember?
Okay, that would be nice. I think that, I can tell you because I saw it and I thought that was a really good point, but I'll find it now. But I think what I thought was really important about it, let's see if it aligns with Weissman, is that Hope Hicks made absolutely clear that that Donald Trump was in the weeds about everything related to publicity around the campaign, that people were extremely worried that this news about the payment to Stormy Daniels would blow up the campaign. And she found that out after the fact, because they were kind of lying to her, saying, oh, this didn't really happen. She found that out, and he said, well, I'm glad this didn't come out during the campaign. I also think what was clear is very important was that that Michael Cohen came across as cheap, and she thought it was very unlikely, even though she was told that he did this on his own, that he would, because he was not considered a very generous person.
Right. I mean, it was really just the time Hope Hicks came in, and again, like the January 6th committee, the prosecution is using Trump loyalists to actually expose the truth about what he did. Instead of relying on Michael Cohen, we have now Hope Hicks, who brought in her testimony, and she cried over this, having to admit that he knew ahead of time. So she she came in and fucked up his lies around timing. I didn't know. I was just reimbursing him for lawyer costs. She's like, oh no, he knew.
I found the Weissman thing
when he was doing it. And
So-
so that's what the power of what she did is she
Absolutely.
punctured that in for the defense. But then people were saying, some pundits were saying she was a great win for the defense, and I didn't understand that at all. I think they're just saying that. I don't know.
Well, I think they said that because she had been told that, that at one point she did say that Michael Cohen wasn't a fixer. He was only kind of fixing the problems he created. But here's
that's a
what
good line.
Weissman said today at 3:10. The coup de grace from Hicks. Hicks says Trump told her Cohen on his own paid Stormy to protect him. So Trump eventually learns of the hush money payoffs on this telling, which means that later labeling the reimbursements as legal fees would be false. So even, that was no matter what, even if Cohen did it on his own, it still was to cover it up. And also Hicks, the whole point is, the other part is Hicks adds that Trump said it was better this is coming out now and not before the election. So that links
we knew it was about the election.
That the falsification of business records was done to cover this up, right?
Yeah.
One last thing about Hope Hicks in general. I don't know if you remember when the Trump Tower meeting happened and then the New York Times found out about it. Hope Hicks was intimately involved with how they were going to message it and, make it seem like not a big deal. She and Trump together crafted a response that Junior would use about that. So that's another thing where
interesting.
That's how she's used. I don't know if they're probably not going to talk about this, but just for us, just remember what she's been doing. Okay, we have to do announcements. I think
there's our announcements. Jen, do you have anything that's coming up? Do you have a new book dropping? We got your announcement about your new job, your change of university. Anything else you want?
I have a Substack called, you heard about that, Money and Gossip. I'm working on a new book, but nothing to share about that.
Okay, so Money and Gossip on Substack, Jen Taub. And what do we find there? What do we expect to see there?
We find, if there's something going on like the Trump trial, or soon I'll be writing about this breaking news about the accounting firm that represents hundreds of public companies. Also that Donald Trump shockingly chose to represent his company that owns Truth Social. That firm has now been, by today, SEC barred it, which is very extreme, from ever operating, and told all the public companies, they need to get a new public accounting firm. And by the way, we're going to know who all those companies are because they have to file an 8K, which is basically a periodic type statement. And they've got to file it within a few days. So we're going to see a lot of 8Ks saying, oh shit, we had this crappy accounting firm. And by the way, when Donald Trump's company chose this firm, it was already in hot water many times. So Trump's firm, whatever Donald Trump, whatever it's called, his Truth Social company, they now need to get a new public accounting firm. And how is anyone going to bless the bullshit that those books are? That's what I wonder.
Ooh.
And that's the kind of thing that I'm going to write about.
Okay, so I'm very excited to read about this in your Substack. I will sign up for your Substack.
Thank you.
Yay, and read that. Greg, do you have an announcement?
We have to do after hours. We're doing this. Did you know
No,
that?
I can't do that tonight. Did we say we were going to do it?
We did.
Oh, guys, I really can't.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
I'm not in my space. I forgot that I wasn't going to be in my. I'm borrowing someone's space, and I've got to get it back to them. Okay. So I got to get their space back to them. I'm so sorry.
And I would stay, but I've got to like check in with the fam because my kid has an SAT tomorrow morning, etc.
It's just college insanity right now. But maybe, Greg, I can do like I'll do a little live thing later. I can do one. We'll work it out. We'll make it up to you guys. I promise. We'll make it up. Okay. So sorry to do that live on here.
Jen, you've done yeoman's work. You've been with us now for 2 hours, so this is great.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the time flies when we're having good conversations. It's fun. There's one SAT word that's always on it. I'm trying to think of what it is now. Perspicacity. That's the word. It's going to be on the test. Make sure.
I'm not gonna interfere. I'm not saying anything. All my job is to drive the kid, knock wood, get them there in one piece, and drive them home. I don't get involved in the test.
I'm telling you, perspicacity is going to be on it. So
okay,
that's it.
Well,
you're welcome.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm just kidding. I've only told that to one other person ever, and it was actually on the thing. So Yeah.
Okay.
I got lucky with that. All right. I guess we're done. I guess we're.
No, we have three
Oh,
more.
we have more?
3 minutes for our last
Oh,
topic.
okay.
I'm going to give it to everybody.
All right. Okay.
This is it. Just 3 minutes. It's going. What's our last topic?
Our last topic
It's the
Arizona
reversal.
is repealed because Arizona has repealed the horrible law enacted by the serial pedophile guy from 1864, and now there's a new law in the books in Arizona that protects the rights. So this is a good thing. Yeah. Unfortunately, the law in Florida went through, which is the 6-week law, and 6 weeks into the pregnancy is basically non-existent. It's the way that they measure these things, it may as well be nothing at all. It's effectively de facto a total ban in Florida, which is obviously one of the largest states in the country. So, it's bad. But I just feel like I'm hoping that the anger, the fury, to go back to our first topic, over Dobbs and these attacks on our rights, our civil rights and all that, will be enough to animate people to come to the polls and forget about whatever the protests are and whatever misgivings they might have about Biden, that people will realize that, under Trump, things are only going to get a lot worse. So.
Well, I'm very hopeful too. I mean, we have the Dobbs decision anniversary coming up, right? 2 years? Has it been 2 years? I think it has, coming up this June. I don't remember the day. I just remember it being around in the summer, at the beginning of the summer. So, and then we have the summer off, right, from colleges, from schools. So I do think there'll be a breather, and I'm really hoping that Dems can get the messaging together. And I know they have it together, but really make sure it gets out there and work it as much as you can over the summer to galvanize people around, the rights that are actually being stripped away here and will continue to be stripped away should we commit the second, which will become the number one greatest act of self-harm, of unforced self-harm, that this nation, that any democracy that would have been and reelect that monstrosity.
Here.
Let's get it together this summer is my chant for all of that. And yay, Arizona. So
Hot Joe summer, is that the idea?
Hot Joe summer. I mean, in a way, maybe the thing in Arizona is good in terms of, I'm interested with you as a lawyer, Jen, that this all gets fleshed out into reality, because it's all just been fantasy making. I feel like a lot, especially the abortion issue, of just like, and this, it's this fantasy, this the babies and all this crap, right? That's just been, nothing with reality, nothing grounded in the medical issues, nothing grounded in what women are facing, nothing grounding in the idea that you're actually talking about stripping a human being of their own bodily autonomy, and putting it in the hands of some weirdo, creepo politician.
And how common it is that pregnancies end, and how common it is that miscarriages need to be dealt with in a way that would be prohibited, and the people will then become sterile and not ever be able to have children if they want them. So this isn't, it's insane.
Healthcare.
Yes.
Yeah. So having a cogent moment where we can come back to that, maybe watching fanatics, as you said, extremism, right? Watching extremism at real work, with legislative power, expressing itself in terms of what's actually going to happen to people, to their bodies and their lives as mothers. So
and let me just throw a Jewish thing in here. There's actually one little thing which you may know, and people aren't paying much attention to. I'm forgetting which is the state, but there was a group of Jewish people, or maybe synagogues and Jewish people, who sued, saying that the state law violated their religious freedom. And I think that case is moving forward. I'm forgetting what the state is.
Might be Tennessee. I want to say it's Tennessee. I might be wrong. I'm probably wrong. I can't remember anything.
But
Can't
like,
remember.
you know, that there is a different, you know, again, we are a pluralistic society. We need to be Aristotelian, find the mean between the extremes. Let live must include let people do what they want with their bodies if they're not hurting anyone else kind of
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. And also, it's so they don't hurt themselves, so they're not hurt.
Right.
You know, like it always.
Medical, right. You can't, you know,
Oh my God. And a
it's
child.
barbaric. It's
How about a
barbaric.
child? How about a child being able to? No, I can't.
Right.
Yeah. So maybe we had to go through this. Clearly, we did, and hopefully, we'll have more of a awakening around the actual real things happening here that we're facing and the existential threats here that we actually have a responsibility and a duty to power to do something about with our votes.
Thank you.
It's a fairy tale that the right wingers have created and, you know, got into the ether that we talked about last week with the word abortion and how we haven't been able to say the word and all this kind of stuff because that hasn't happened. This fairy tale has persisted of that, you know, abortion equals baby murder, which is just fucking not what it is. And it's ignorant and stupid and anti-scientific. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people are waking up to. And, you know, hopefully people can figure this out because it's a right that's been taken away. And it's not the last right that's going to get taken away if the beast becomes president again. So, you know, perfect timing. Look at that. Look at that. So, okay, it's money and gossip, but it's just jentaub.substack.com or is it Jennifer?
I can't remember.
True Player had it up. She had it up.
I
before.
have it. I'll tell you. I'm pulling it up right now. No, it's Jen Taub. Yeah.
Okay,
that
it's
makes sense.
jentaub.substack.com. Check that out. And if anybody hasn't read, you know, your book, you know, just do so. People even in the comments have been talking about how
I have a
it's essential
second book
reading.
first. I had a book called Other People's Houses about the financial crisis if you want to learn about that.
I remember. Yes.
But yes, Big Dirty Money. I really appreciate it on your shelf. Thank you, Greg.
I always like to.
Looks good there.
It does. I
I need
my
Dirty
bookshelves, by the
Rubles
way.
though. Where's my Dirty Rubles book?
Exactly.
Did you send me one?
I can.
I'll buy it. I'll buy it.
It's old. You know, it needs to be updated. You know,
Yes, it does need to be
Then
updated.
do
it needs
that.
to be updated. Is what I'm going to say. So
That's what I would say too.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to say.
Something in the some new a future announcement.
I think it's a future announcement.
I think it's.
I think okay. So I'm going to go pop into that after hours thing since I did it, and I'll just be there for. I'll just.
Okay, I'll come in for 5 minutes. I'll come in for 5 minutes,
You know,
and then I got to.
you don't have if you're.
No. I'm going to come in for 5 minutes. I'm going to because the face of shock, the look of shock and disappointment that spontaneously came across your face, and I love you too much. So I'm going in. So the Catholic guilt doesn't roll me out of here, out of the room.
Look at that. Look what I did.
Look at what you did.
This power that I have.
You
Okay.
got me. It's good power. It's good power. But in the meantime, before we do that, all our love to you, Jen Taub. And we have a saying on here, and you helped us feel it today.
Yes.
And we so appreciate having you on. You're always welcome back. And our saying is that you helped us get to today is this feeling of we're going to get through it.